All right. So this slide just introduces the three of us, your wonderful cruise directors for the North American virtual user group. So welcome to today's presentation. A few housekeeping rules. So these are user-focused events. These should be a safe space for members to learn, network, and problem solve. So we do ask that you do not self-promote. You don't use this as an opportunity to pitch services or products. Don't contact people outside the user group without their consent. And it's essentially Vegas rules. What's said in user group stays in user group. So don't share information about any of the use cases that we're talking about without the consent of those sharing that. So this session is being recorded. We will share out the recording afterwards. If you do not want to be recorded, you can feel free to exit the user group or put yourself on mute, either way. And you'll get the recording afterwards. But just be aware, we are recording. And so if you're just finding us this time, we would love for you to stay connected with the user group and get announcements, invites to future events. So sign up for Bevy. So go to this URL over here, mugs.marketo.com/North American Virtual Mug. Create an account with Adobe if you haven't already. And join our chapter, and you will get communications about future events and things that we're doing. And here's a few kind of upcoming user group events for those of y'all who want to attend additional events. So for those in New York, they are doing a in-person event today with Sanford, who was at Summit. I get a chance to kind of hang out with him. It was really cool. And the St. Louis group is doing a virtual event. And the manufacturing user group on the 28th is doing a virtual event. And here is a list of our user group events for international. So the European Mug is doing a similar session today, or similar session tomorrow. So if you want to get another recap, there's an opportunity over there. And join Experience League. So this is where you get a lot of all your information about all things Adobe. I do know from Summit that the Marketo Nation is scheduled, don't hold me to this, but is scheduled to move fully over to Experience League next year. I don't have any dates or times. But essentially it's going to be your single sign-on experience for all things educational, on digital experience with Adobe. So use this QR code, get yourself a login and get started. And last but not least, so let us know what you think. So Adobe Gen Studio is one of the new innovations that they introduced at Summit. We can talk a little bit about it. But obviously we want you to, if you haven't already reviewed Marketo or any other Adobe products that you are using on G2 or Trust Radius, we definitely encourage you to provide a neutral, I should say neutral, objective review. Obviously you love Marketo, so the review is going to be great, but we're looking, they're looking to have, users uniquely review the products so that the market gets a kind of accurate reflection of what, Marketo is versus some of the stuff, out on the interwebs that we see. And so I'll introduce our panel. So I'm going to talk last because I'm already talking. So, myself, Chris Willis. And Courtney, do you want to introduce yourself? We'll go from left to right here.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to join you guys today. My name is Courtney Edwards-Jones. I'm the Director of Marketing Operations and Strategy at Zora. I'm especially excited to be on the virtual North American mug because I actually live in the UK, but I am from America. So it's nice to connect with so many people. I mean, globally on this call, but definitely so many of those of you that I only get to see when I come back for Summit or when I get to join things like this. I also lead the London mug with two of my good friends. So if you ever find yourself across the pond, we would love to have you over in our mug as well. And I'm part of the Champions program.
All right, Lauren.
Hey, nice to see so many friendly faces, I think, in the audience, and super to have this North American mug. I founded the Tucson mug with a friend in 2020, which de facto made us a virtual mug almost from jump. So it's nice to see another formal kind of North American crew to add to our camaraderie, and I think it's nice to see the engagement this group is getting to. Four-time champ, I'm on Andy's team over at Revenue Pulse, serving as VP, and delighted to share some of our thoughts from Summit with all of you that either were in person, like Rico, and have Summit withdrawal, like myself, or that couldn't make it this year and are looking to just find out the highlights. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Last but not least, Corey the Great.
Thank you. I try sometimes. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. I don't like emails. So yeah, my name's Corey Bayless. I'm a director, product owner at Prudential Financial. I currently run 12 different Marketo instances at Prudential, so I get to see that purple all day long, and that makes me happy. Just like Andy, Marketo just brings a tear to your eye because it's just, it's so great, but also so punishing at the same time. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here. Just so much insight from Adobe Summit. They're doing so many things. The articles that are coming out, definitely take a read because there's some really big things that are on the horizon. And one of the big ones that I was really excited about is just how Adobe has basically embraced and put a pole in the top of the mountain and said, here we are, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to just define what this industry is. And man, just the agentic AI stuff, I'm excited to talk about it. So thank you for having me. I am loving every part of this.
All right. So with that, let's talk about our experiences at Summit. I'm gonna pull a name at random and call on Lauren to go first. I think we can go in round robin and kind of talk, like, let's give it like a 90-second overview of our experience, and then we'll kind of deep dive in kind of a panel discussion format from here. I know some of y'all have slides, so if you want to talk to a slide, like, definitely just kind of direct me over to the slide. I did not create slides. I'm just going to talk ad hoc here.
And thank you for the Kelly School call out there. I see you, Chris, and thanks for letting me get my thoughts out here, I think, quickly, because the main thing I want to talk about is check out this hoodie, guys. Look at this thing.
Woo!
Yeah, it's fabulous. No, at the swag this year, right? Courtney understands. So it was interesting, I think, to see also that like the designers at Summit this year worked with the carpeting in the convention center, like as you see in the picture on the left. Like they picked up themes from the installation of, design that they couldn't change, and then they just brought it all to life. And I think that is kind of an interesting abstract representation of where they're going with our data, where they're going with our campaigns, where they're going with their whole product suite, is like taking what's built and connecting it all together, and connecting it together in powerful ways. So they introduced the concept of personalization at scale last year. This year, they got more eloquent around what that's going to look like in actual application. And we saw, to Corey's point about agentic AI, the 10 key agents and the orchestrator that kind of sits at the top of those agents to pull the full spectrum of what our capabilities are across the Adobe suite of products fully together into this beautiful rainbow. So I was vibing with the theme and nerding out about it in Keynote and even in just the hallway carpeting. But I think that's my 90 seconds up. Shall I pass this on to somebody else, Chris?
I can go ahead and take it from here.
Awesome.
We'll keep with the Kelly School theme here.
I love it. I love it.
So Corey, I really loved what you said about like, Adobe putting the stake in the ground and essentially at the keynote saying, this is how we're going to we're going to own this industry. Here's how we're defining it. And this is what we're doing. So I do agree, like the swag game was really good. I will say as a speaker, some of the speaker gift was pretty solid. So like Adobe knows how to treat like the speakers at these summit events. And so, for nothing else other than the swag, definitely apply to be a speaker in the future.
Wait, Chris, I'm going to have to clarify there. I missed the speaker reception and was technically a speaker. What did I miss out on?
We got these nice blankets. Unfortunately, I don't have it to show.
Okay, well, thank you
But
for
you
telling me.
should be getting something from
I
Brad.
have questions.
Maybe
All
that
right,
was
thank
a
you.
skill exchange thing.
I
So,
appreciate that. All right.
but yeah, what I would also note is that like with a lot of bleeding edge technology announcements, there were a lot of buzzwords that were being thrown out. And a lot of like opportunities, with Adobe really wanting to put a stake in the ground, they're coining branded terms in order to anchor us to the direction that they're taking the market. So the big one was called like customer journey orchestration, which essentially kind of shared their vision of what they're doing with this entire B2B and really overall Adobe kind of experience platform engagement suite, where these applications, so think about Marketo in kind of traditional marketing automation, person-based lead management, engagement through kind of omni-channel to people, AJO being like looking at it kind of a higher level at the buyer group and the account level, essentially kind of their stake in the ground. And this is what we're doing with, ABM and ABM orchestration, as well as, the like Gen Studio for like creative, real-time CDP for like orchestrating and buyer intelligence, all those type of things. It's very clear that they're thinking very, very strategically about where they place each of the platforms into the suite with the specific use case in mind, that they're not like, while we heard a lot of buzzwords, it's very clear that Adobe's not just thinking about buzzwords. They're also thinking about, okay, how do you use this? Which ultimately, when you hit the, in the hype cycle, when you hit the trough of disillusionment, that's going to determine whether these things survive or not. So it's not like, hey, here's agentic AI, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. What they did was they're developing very purpose-built agents that are doing things that marketers care about, like extending journeys, like giving us a starter of like, okay, what exactly would a buyer group look like, those type of things. And I really appreciated that they're not just thinking about like, hey, we're going to throw a bunch of technology out there, but they're doing things very purpose-built because they understand the use cases we experience as marketers. So that's my 90-second take. Let's go to Courtney.
Okay, great. My big takeaway, so I will say this was my second summit to go to, and it keeps getting better. That is not because the first summit was bad at all, but this was the best summit I've been to so far. So I just expect that next year is going to be better. Now I have high expectations. My big takeaway was, we know, and I think that it's okay to call out that a lot of us in the community have probably felt that Marketo specifically as a tool hasn't necessarily had the innovation brought to it in the way that we as a community have probably been asking for. And there have been several reasons for that, and Adobe's been really transparent. Sometimes they also brought AJO B2B and their team that builds this idea of this B2B journey, whether it be lead-based or account-based, work on both of these tools, and they work really closely together. So resources, can be shared. And so a lot of innovation came around AJO B2B and the release of that last year. And I think this year, what we saw was a lot of releases and care and thought and love and listening to the community being poured into Marketo as a tool. So a lot of exciting things that are coming out, whether or not you use a lot of the other tools in the Adobe suite or not, there'll be things that you can start to pick up and run with just within Marketo on the roadmap. And that was really exciting to feel. The buzz around Marketo users was really high this year. And I think the excitement was felt, and they really expressed that they are going in and listening to what customers are saying. They are going into Marketing Nation and listening to the questions and the pain points and the friction that we have, and trying to incorporate that. So some of my favorite releases, if we talk about those, are kind of around those small wins that we've probably been asking for a while. And I shoot it over to Corey.
Yeah, love the insight from everyone. So I'm gonna hit it with some stats because I've been doing a lot of research, just reading, basically doing my due diligence and watching everyone's presentations because they're all amazing. I've been waiting for Chris and Josh's presentation to go live, which hopefully it is. I'll talk with you, Chris, about it later because I definitely want to see it. Definitely a recommendation to go check those out. Also, Carissa and Chris Kelly's is phenomenal. The artistic element that they bring to that table, I just highly recommend you guys check them out. It's really, really great presentations from the champs itself, which brings me to my point, is that it is super, super important that we exist. It is important because we bring a depth to the systems and services that we're building and how we build them and how we architect them. One of the things that I noticed was that the peer-to-peer area for the community pavilion was my favorite place to be, because we were able to work as a team, be very strong champs together, and really help answer the questions for the community that desperately need them. It seems like surface level, yeah, we got all our answers. But when you start getting into a little bit of depth, it seems like we don't really seem to have a ton of answers there, and that scares me. For an industry that's growing in the way that it is, it feels like it's got a hollow shell around it. So we need to be really careful. We really need to fill that in, and that's why being on panels like these are super important, because we can talk about those things. We can talk about the technical aspects of what we're trying to do, because it's not buzzwords. It's real stuff, right? These are real things that are getting built behind the scenes, and so I was reading an article about JTF marketing, and one of the big ones that they said is that the winner by far in Adobe Summit was Marketo. Marketo had 18 updates that came to it this time around, which is huge, right? So if you're not following Tarun Aurora, I would, because he is a champion of Marketo. The innovations that he is bringing to the table is exciting. He is just follow the things that he's talking about and what he's trying to do and how he's trying to streamline all this innovation in Marketo, and doing it with the ability to also create a backwards compatibility element that doesn't just break us out from what we're currently doing to where we are. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong, but what he's talking about, not just from, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but the image to HTML is huge. The journey orchestration elements that come into play, especially with agentic AI, is also massive. The things that you saw Marriott doing with just in-app messaging and being able to do projections of when your next stay is, being able to bring just like this awesome experience that allows us to be more efficient, right? We want tools that allow us to be efficient, but don't take away from the back end ability to do things. One of the things that I really enjoy, and why I've used Marketo for 12 years, is because it is it is an excellent tool that has so many different workarounds, with the ability to also jump in, and you can actually remap APIs in certain assets and resources. If you're interested in knowing more about that, I'm happy to talk about it. It's basically been cornerstone to my career, being able to manipulate that platform. But that's the most agility that you'll see in market automation, which is why all these enterprise companies are using it, because you can manipulate it. You can do things that that another system out of the box couldn't do, right? So anything that can't be done through the UI, you can likely do some kind of hack to it, right, and make it work. So the fact that all of that is coming down the pipe very exciting stuff. And that's pretty much what I have for right now.
All right. So going on that theme, there were a couple, I mean, I think there was a couple things that are kind of like hot on everybody's mind. So number one is, what is the number one innovation that you saw? What innovation got you the most excited? Um, and I'll start. And I think the innovation that I found most exciting probably was, like, I'm gonna cheat and just say two, um, is the BI analytics tool. Um, I'm a longtime user of Revenue Explorer and have been a little bit frustrated that they haven't updated it. Being a lifecycle expert, that has been my go-to tool for doing basic lifecycle reporting, and have been really frustrated with that. RCE has not gotten a lot of love. BI, like advanced BI analytics, makes up for that and more. You can do some really cool things in that. It's backed up by Snowflake. It's really fast, and you can make presentation ready reports from it. So that was very welcome. The other would be the person journey builder. And for no other reason that, like, it does present a little bit of a UX upgrade for folks that want to do like custom journeys out of Marketo Engage, that don't want to, that want that nice simple UI. And I somewhat see this as like somewhat see this as essentially taking away a little bit of FUD from the vendors, from the competition. I will say, just being an independent consultant and being across a lot of MOPS projects, I do get into some orgs that are in the blue and the orange, and I'll tell you that being in those orgs makes me bleed purple even more, because I see how much better the capabilities of Marketo are. Having that person journey builder fills a gap that I think Marketo has been needed to do from a competitive standpoint. It's going to open up a lot of capabilities within AEP. And like, there's a lot of things that we can do with it. I'm curious on how they're going to marry this up with like programs, smart campaigns, and all of the other like kind of core capabilities that Marketo has, and that they don't like abandon the nuts and bolts of Marketo for that journey builder. But I am excited to see that, like, that refreshed UI come into Marketo.
Chris, I love the fact that you're thinking big picture. For me, I was just super grateful that we finally don't have to leave the email editor to upload an image. Hallelujah. Imagine all the years of lost hours of our lives spent hopping back and forth just to get a new image in place. I'm excited for that. But yeah, seconding your notions around how the product is evolving. It's just really nice, I think, to see, to Corey's point, it be a year of product enhancements and developments. And I think besides the capability, the simple and humble capability of uploading an image without wasting, 3 or 4 unnecessary minutes, it was sure fun to see Rico sketch a back of napkin drawing, literally a back of napkin drawing, and have the image to HTML editor, even though it's in its infancy, be able to interpret and digitize a hand-rendered picture, a template, drawn on a piece of notebook paper. That was pretty astounding. I think it's like we're on the cusp of putting our hook on the back of the rocket ship that is AI, and the exponential developments are just beginning. Is my hope, is that we're just now starting to see like the advent of a really interesting time of development. I'm hopeful this isn't just a one and done year for Marketo, but definitely excited to see how all of these like sort of early on pieces, like I think Alina Vanderberg said it well when she was talking about her agent-based approach to AI and seeing what it can do for her team over at Chili Piper, when she said it's like the most powerful team of interns. right? She has to train them and they have to learn what she wants of them. But we have this wonderful capability to scale ourselves now and to benefit from the suggestions from this, age of agentic AI. But definitely some of the more simple and practical developments were needed. And I'm curious about what the more sophisticated ones are going to bring us in the future.
I like what you're saying there, Lauren, because I think that definitely the image to HTML and some of the AI enhancements and what's coming down the roadmap were the big, like, flashy game changer moments where we're all like, whoa, okay, this is going to make a lot of things really easy. But then when you bring out like the simple and humble, kind of to my point of some of the, so if you are anybody on this call, if you are somebody stuck with a lot of tech debt and a really old instance, I feel your pain. So just rebuilding the Salesforce CRM sync was a huge one for me. That was so needed, and I feel like that, and then also providing some more visibility into what's going on with the sync and sync errors, and an ability to get a bit more granular reporting on that. So sometimes it's exactly the same thing. I had those moments of like, this is going to be really cool for some of this stuff that's still in infancy, maybe still in beta or still to come, but we know the route and where Adobe wants to take us. And then with that sync rebuild, and then also with some of the work they're doing with like global tokens and trigger tokens and some of that stuff that becomes critical to our workflows, was exciting, because if you are working in a Frank instance or across 12 instances, or maybe not 12 instances, but with 12 workspaces or whatever it might be, those things that maybe seem like they don't get as much attention and they kind of get passed over from an operational perspective really hit home for me. And I was like, I can't wait till this is released, because it can start to just create small efficiencies that turn into big efficiencies for me.
It's my turn. Yeah, so just let's jump like real quick into they covered the image to HTML. The journey orchestration element for B2B was super impressive with the agentic AI. So one of the things that I really caution myself to talk about, because I don't know if I'm a boss to know this, because it could replace all of us. But basically, the agentic AI was it's prompting, right? Think of ChatGPT with a wrapper around it, and it's basically been modified into what is a bot that's been trained in your system. And there's a bunch of logistics to how Adobe is actually going about training these bots, because obviously this is super dangerous stuff, right? These bots in an uncontrolled setting can learn everything, right? So they can't scan the internet, they can't do anything nefarious, they're kind of like centered around what is enterprise and what the enterprise build needs to be, right? So you're covering all of your different compliance elements, where, and I'm at Prudential, so we're financial based, and we have FINRA and the SEC and all these things that have to kind of come into play, and all of those things are kind of being accounted for, whether it's the Gen AI Studio, which is also super impressive, or Firefly, which I think is one of the coolest innovations I've ever seen, to be honest with you. And just the fact that they came at it with stats of like, look, we understand Gen AI is super important, but guess what? If you actually add a little bit of character to your images and you kind of make them move around, or you create a 3D, a 3D model of what you're trying to show, you generally get more excitement about the content that you're trying to release. It's no joke though. Probably the biggest blocker that I've saw at this is called content supply chain. Everyone struggles with content supply chain, right? The ability to get more content out the door, more meaningful for your company, to get more clicks, to get more interest, to get more people for, through the pipeline and through into sales and one contracts, right? That's a big proponent of what Gen AI Studio can come in and do. And so they're trying to create kind of all these integrations that allow us to be able to just basically fast-paced content through the content supply chain to allow us to get more content out, have more engagement, and do all the things. But then mix in, if you bring in like AJO B2B as an example, AJO B2B is a prime example of where you have your buying groups, and where a buying group can consist of many different people, right? And if you take into account, let's say there's 10 people and you have 20 different touch points. Think of all those different touch points that would have to be manually kind of reviewed to say, okay, which person do I actually think has the, is the decision maker? Which person needs to do all of these things? Well, AI is going to compile all those touch points together, and it's going to spit out what the AI basically said, hey, here's the person that is kind of the most active, the most engaged. Here's who we should talk to. Here's your target, kind of the target for being able to do more with this contract. And then that allows you to basically make more intelligent decisions, and in a shorter period of time, right? So these are all things that if you kind of compile it together and you use the systems like Marketo as your backend, which is the whole goal, right? Now all of a sudden you have the ability to actually use an agentic AI to orchestrate entire nurture streams based off of those buyer groups, based off of basically, if you've ever seen AGO orchestration, it's called a journey, Adobe journey orchestration, sorry. You get that mapping of how each campaign and how all the constraints that come in, and how you kind of split out your audience, and how I want this audience to go here, and this audience to go here, and this audience to go here. When I was in, I don't remember which presentation it was in, but when I saw the ability for agentic AI to automatically create that journey and then build all the resources and assets underneath it with all the creative based off of like what I needed, and then also build the web page out, it did it in like 20 seconds. I was, that was the one part where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want anybody to see this, because this is like what would be normally like 3, potentially 4 weeks of back and forth with the teams and all these things. It was done in 30 seconds. And we had basically fully usable things that can get like a full nurture stream of like 5 different emails out the door in less than a couple of days. That's incredible efficiency, right? That is actually where the element of cost efficiency is really going to come into play. Other than the fact that it's being charged millions of dollars to be able to use these services and tools. But you get my point, right? So when you have the ability to do those things, you have the ability to scale those things, you have those experts on your team, and you're able to actually quantify and do all the things that you need to do to have success, these things are just going to make us move faster and be more efficient. And that's definitely one of the big things for content supply chain blockers that they are really focusing on. It's like, how do we unblock this? How do we make content interesting? How do we not just make it the same boilerplate AI content that everybody else is doing? How can we make it special? Right. So that was definitely another piece that I saw that was really interesting.
Cool. So next question. So session thoughts, like what were your favorite session, kind of an overview of the sessions you attended, what was valuable, what was not valuable. I'll go first. So I think the most valuable session for me really were the roadmap sessions, because I really, like, as a longtime Marketo user champion, wanted to see what Adobe was delivering into the Marketo platform. And I'll be honest, I came in with a degree of skepticism. I had seen, as a champion, I've seen some previews, so I knew there's some cool stuff happening. But the Marketo product team really exceeded my expectations with a lot of the innovations they come out with. And we talked a lot about them, but there's some unsexy ones too, like the ability to govern your data through being able to define your pick list data. So, you're not creating a bunch of junk data into your system, which, those of us in MOPS definitely appreciate. I think my favorite on that end was Steve Vandenberg's and John Dixon's session, because, like, as you all heard, like, we definitely got the message as a community from Adobe, from Marketo, that we've been heard. And I can't tell you how much that makes me feel, especially like kind of living with the doubt of the first couple of years after the acquisition. My thought, I also attended another session where there was a customer that presented like how they're bringing AJO and Marketo together to create like cross-platform like orchestration journeys. And really that was great to see what is the art of the possible. If you had AJO B2B, Marketo Engage, like how are these platforms engaging together? And like it wasn't really a in-depth, deep technical session. It was more of a session of being able to see what the art of the possible is. And there are some really cool things you can do when you have both platforms in play. I think last but not least, I did attend some of the lab sessions. I was a little disappointed with the lab session because there was some breakage. Like there was definitely like some issues with the technology just based on like which I hope they fix in the future, just dealing with like how many instances there were in the lab room and such. I did get to play, so I specifically played around with the AJO B2B tool, got some hands-on keyboard time in there, and really love really love that journey builder functionality. It's very easy to use. It's very functional. And also did some work inside of the interactive webinar tool. I will say that we haven't really talked about interactive webinars just because like that was an announcement that was made a couple of years ago. They've put some really neat Gen AI enhancements into that, especially for your on demand, that are really cool. If you're using interactive webinars, you definitely should check that out. If you're not using interactive webinars, it's included in your org. You have 12 interactive webinars. It costs you nothing to do a pilot. You can have up to 500 attendees in there. And like based on my experience in there, like if you're strictly using like GoToWebinar or Zoom to run your webinars, this is a significant upgrade, both in the like the caliber of data that you're getting in, but also the experiences you're presenting to your user base. So I would say, if you're somewhat hesitant to try interactive webinars, like what do you have to lose? It's not going to cost you anything. Pick a couple events, do a pilot. I guarantee you're going to be hooked. Just based upon what you're able to get from a data standpoint inside of Marketo Engage that can make your engagement that much better after the webinars. So that's my take. I'm not going to review my old session. I don't think that's fair. Because of course I'm going to say it was great. So let's go to Lauren.
I can say your session was great. I can echo that. And I can say it was amazing and you did a fantastic job. I'm going to pivot a bit and be the nerd that I am because I can't be anything else. But the session I think that I love the most was this random moment where my co-presenter, Karina Vidal, grabbed me in the hallway and was like, Lauren, I'm going to a women in tech session. You have to come with me. And I was like, oh, I'll walk you there. And I walk her down the hallway and we get to the door and it's at this, at the Tao restaurant. It's all fancy. It's got this Buddha sitting in this serene, like low light shadow. And it's like this like crazy intimate corridor. I'm not on the guest list. This appears to be VIP only. And I'm feeling less than in VIP status by not being on this guest list. She insists with the people at the door that I have to come in. And it's just pure magic. From there on, I'm sitting next to someone that I've had the honor to advocate for over the past couple of years, and to like help amplify her brilliance in rooms where she's not. And she brings me into a room where I'm not on the list, and I get to hear the CMO of and SVPs from like companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft talk about what it's like to be a woman in tech in 2025. And it was like a balm for tattered nerves after, maybe the past few years that we've seen in tech, to hear these women talk about mentorship and advocacy and time management and just career growth and their insights around ethical AI, I think especially were kind of stunning just to hear leaders at the forefront. While we're talking about agentic, clippy the paperclip moments, to hear these wonderful, brilliant women talk about how they're looking to change society with an eye toward ethics and responsibility and sustainability. I think that was really a magical moment for me, but unexpected. But I guess it comes back to the theme that I always center around. The summit's about the people. the people I get to meet, the chance encounters, the way the universe just kind of brings us together. Like Shivani Bhatt and I sat in a room and had lunch together, and that was super special to me. But the sessions were all stellar. I think every single champ put their heart and soul into what they presented, and it was really nice to see a lot of us, I think, get the chance to share our thoughts with the community at large. But yes, Chris, I did think your session was awesome. So I will say that, but I'll pass this along to Courtney.
Yeah,
keep
before
going,
you
Chris.
go, Courtney, you should watch my session just so you can watch Josh Arrington just blow your mind with self-service flow steps. Like, that was amazing. And I think that is one of the, like,
You stole my thunder, Chris.
oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I just stole it.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, we should all, but it's your session as well, because you guys did this session as a dual session. I want to say, as somebody who didn't speak and was just a consumer this year, which was a totally different experience than my first year, but I did really enjoy it, that I am in the presence of greatness, because all three of you that spoke had incredible, I mean, more champs spoke, obviously, but very lucky to have three of the people that spoke here joining me to talk about it. And all of your sessions were incredible. I still have so many more that I still want to watch, but I did want to jump in and say to you, Chris, that you can big up your session. You should be able to, like, I think Rico said, like, wear your own band t-shirt. You definitely should. All three of you guys did an incredible job. And I was going to share also that, Chris, the session you did, the skills exchange sessions especially, I find really useful, because people are opening up their instances. Well, Corey as well, opening up your instance and showing you how you really do things and how you really get stuff done. I find that to be the notes that I take every time, no matter how long I've used Marketo, I'm always learning something new. And maybe we all find that. And that's why we love to come to these user groups, because we're all willing to open up our instances, open up our creative ideas, open up what we're working on, and share, and just try to make the community stronger and how we're working stronger. But I found your session, we have a life cycle right now that definitely have some stage skips, and I immediately was like, you've solved some problems for me right here. Thank you so much. Like, it was incredible. And on that piece too, Josh is doing, another fellow champion of ours is doing some incredible work with self-service flow steps. And in his part of the session, he gave away a roadmap to one of that. Like, this is how you do it step by step to go do that. And that's a really powerful piece of Marketo that I don't think functionality within Marketo, I don't think a lot of people have unlocked yet and started to use. But I did want to jump in before Corey goes, just because, Corey, you can wear your own band t-shirt as well. All three of you guys had incredible sessions. So I want to call that out as somebody who got to just sit back, not be nervous about speaking, not have to worry about tech checks, not have to worry about any of that. It was really enjoyable. I then also was like, I want to speak again someday. It got me excited, but I really enjoyed kind of just consuming everything you guys shared. So thank all of you guys.
Yeah, Courtney, I will say that the downside of speaking at Skill Exchange is we had this nervous feeling all the way until Thursday. So Corey got to speak a little bit earlier and got to enjoy Bash. So Corey?
Yeah, this year actually, I didn't have to present in person. I did virtual. So first off, thank you all. I am in the presence of greatness for everyone here. You are all people I love dearly. Jackie, I haven't gotten to work with you quite as much, but I've only heard really good things, and anything that's VMUG or Marketo related, it's near and dear to my heart, because it's the foundation of what I'm built on, which is it's like a tear to the eye, but it's also like a kind of a situation. So no, here's what's really interesting after looking at all of the different presentations, and I still have many to watch, and I'm still working through that. But I love how the champ presentations all kind of like go around and sort of, they come full circle, right? They're all focused in on really kind of the same similar things, which is like Marketo orchestration, Marketo workflow management, self-service APIs, Chris talking about RCM and skips, and then also just like Marketo engage fundamentals from Chiara and Ajay, right? So what I'm saying to that is I finally got access to my old account. So I've got Champ Blog access, and I'm going to work with the champs to get our presentations visible and all together so that you guys don't have to go searching through all of them. It's all going to be put together so you can all watch all of the great work, because honestly, the run up to these things is very stressful. All of the presentations, all of the Adobe meetings that you have to get the clearance on the content, to make sure it's on par with all the things, it's a tremendous amount of work, right? So when the champs are up there and we're presenting our heart and soul, because it's what we fight every day, it's the solutions that we bring to the table that enable our success, right? And I'll just put it out there, mine is no different. You know what to expect when you watch my presentations, a very heavy technical deep dive into how these platforms perform. I literally put on display what omni-channel orchestration looks like in Marketo, covering all of your different workflows that you need to manage. And guess what? I'm showing you smart lists. I'm showing you filters. I'm showing you the things that actually make this stuff function. And so it's built to help the audience. It's built to help the community to grow and to understand a different way to do things. Why am I confident in it? Because it's what I currently do now, and it's giving me a tremendous amount of success. Instead of me being on my computer doing manual list uploads and all these different things, guess what? I'm here talking to you guys, right? So it's important for you to kind of understand that body of work and how important it is, and just the amount of effort that we are wanting to put in to help everyone in the industry learn. We grow together, right? This isn't a one-person shop. This is a team. This is a global team atmosphere that we bring together. Marketo has survived because of the amazing work that everybody on this panel and the champions in the community. I even met Sanford. What a legend. Oh my gosh, he's exactly what I thought he would be. Super charismatic, really awesome dude. First time I ever got a chance to meet him, right? But you're getting to see these movers and shakers in this industry that really are change makers. We're really driving for people to understand these concepts, not just from a surface level, but also when you dive in, so that when you do get caught in that situation, or you do see something that comes at you in MOPS, which inevitably it always will, right? You will always find blockers. There's always issues that you will run into, but you've got this giant community around you of people who've all faced these same issues, right? And it's our job to continue to help and steward that along. So that's just my little spiel. So what I would say is my favorite presentation, I went to a lot of the big presentations this year, actually, which is different for me because I usually like to try to hunt out some of the more granular ones. And while I couldn't go to all of them, I did go to two that were really good. Not because I work for Prudential, but I thought our Prudential presentation that we did with Adobe was actually very, very good. We talk a lot about how we're incorporating Gen AI, but Gen AI into an enterprise safe, specific position for branding, as well as just kind of all the other elements for legal and security that come into play for those companies that you work for that are very tight knit, that it's you're afraid to embrace AI. You're afraid to actually onboard the things that you know are going to bring success to the business, but the business doesn't know how to embrace AI, right? It gives you kind of a roadmap to like, how can I get AI into my industry, like into my company? So that was a really good one. The other one that I saw was the NVIDIA one. I've gotten hit and miss comments on they liked it, they didn't like it for the NVIDIA one, but here's what I like about NVIDIA. First off, NVIDIA is a powerhouse company. It was ranked as one of the most valuable companies at $3.5 trillion, which I think has gone up and down based off of, obviously, we don't even need to get into what's going on, but like their chip producing capabilities, as well as their ability to build their own agentic AI bots underneath to help with their workflow management, was astounding. I was blown away by the fact that they're basically saying, we're trying to talk to 20,000 AI chip, AI enthusiasts and chip. What was the word she used? Basically, she broke her audience down of like, here's people who want to use AI and build off of the amazing chips that they're building underneath, and then the 1 billion gamers that NVIDIA relies on, right? And how they reach that audience and how they separate each and every single segment that they're doing with AI was fascinating. Plus, it's just really cool to see NVIDIA because I'm a huge fan. So that was another one that was really big, trying to just draw any type of anecdotes from that one, but just basically like the innovation is coming. It's coming full steam ahead, right? These things are happening. It's not, it's to me last year, I'll be honest, it felt a lot like it was very buzzwordy. But then to actually physically see these prompting attributes being put into these systems, and then AI just spitting this stuff out with complete connectivity on the back end, that's here. That's what's happening, right? And so Adobe has a big challenge ahead of them, and that is to deliver on all of this stuff. And that is not going to be an easy task, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be in the industry to watch it, because it's great to see that. A lot of people are like, "Where's Marketo going?" I'd say they've got 18 big updates coming to Marketo alone this year, and things that have already been launched. I would say Marketo's not going anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. And what was really cool about like a lot of the demos, Corey, that I saw is that they were live demos. Like it was live demos with live software. They weren't doing any like a lot of Figma like items this time around, which was really cool. Um, so
So
we've got a few minutes left. I would
uh,
love if there's somebody. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
I was gonna say I loved Tarun's with Melina's presentation. If you had a chance to see it, his presentation midstream broke. Like he actually broke
Oh,
Marketo. I actually love that, because that's our lives, right?
hmm
So I really enjoyed that he was really giving it a shot. Like he was like, I'm gonna break this thing. I'm gonna do it in front of everybody. That's what we want to see, right? We want to
hmm
break these things. We want to break them so that we can go back and say, hey, Tarun, this is what we did. That was what was so beautiful about that image to HTML piece, because it didn't work at first. And then he was able to do a version 2 and it did work. So that was really neat to
That's
see, because he's
amazing.
our champion.
That's amazing. Yeah, Tarun, definitely follow this guy. He's a cheerleader and evangelist for all things Marketo. Um, so for the few minutes I have left, I would love for if there was a question that we did not get a chance to answer, for if you want to get up on camera, one brave soul, and ask us a question about anything that maybe you were wanting to hear but didn't hear, we'll give you the floor.
I'm going to turn off the recording so anybody can ask and not worry about being recorded now too.